Welcome. Welcome to Between the Covers. And thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, publisher and coach, and owner of Red Penguin Books, a publishing company for authors of all genres. Whether you have a manuscript all ready to go or a book that's been kind of fighting its way out of you for a decade now, unleash your inner author. And please visit redpenguinbooks.com and we'll get that book out and onto the pages. A special thank you to our show sponsor, Don Pablo Coffee. I know as a writer, if you're going to stay up all night pounding those keys, you're going to need some Don Pablo coffee. Each grain or each bean is individually selected, so every single cup is a gourmet cup of coffee. Don Pablo Coffee. We're so thrilled to have today a very special guest. I think it was a 10-hour flight to get him here, and he didn't cheat and use Skype. So please welcome my very, very special guest, author, international lawyer, and person extraordinaire, Alberto Zuppi.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And thank you for not Skyping this and for actually coming.
I'm very happy to be here.
And I'm hoping I'll shame all of our other guests. No. We've had guests from California and Florida. You're the furthest.
The first international one.
Well, we had somebody from England.
Okay.
But you're further. Now that we were talking about the plane flight, you are further than that.
Argentina.
Argentina, 10 hours?
10 hours.
10 hours, and he's not on Skype. He's actually here. So thrilled you made it. Well, the first thing, I don't know how often you're going to be in the States, but I wanted to give Alberto a Between the Covers membership card for our online book club. Please go to betweenthecoverstv.com and you can sign up. All of our authors who are on, their books are here. You can borrow them. You could join us on the set on Wednesday evenings for a glass of wine or sign up for our newsletter. So here is your official library card.
Thank you.
You could borrow anything.
Good.
Well, you can't borrow your own book. I mean, you could, but I don't think you want to. I think you know your own book by heart already.
Probably.
But besides being an author or international lawyer, we're going to get to all of that stuff. You are also a reader.
Yes,
What do
I
you
love
like
to
to
read. As a matter of fact, it's part of my problem. I'm not looking today where I'm moving, but if the place where I'm going to be is big enough in order to contain all the books.
Yeah, some of us never move because we don't want to have to pack all those books.
Yeah, exactly. That was,
So are the books since you were a little boy?
Yeah, always. Always collecting books, always.
Wow.
Doesn't matter which play I was, and always I was trying to read in the original language. That's something that I always care a lot.
Okay, I am so jealous. How many languages do you speak?
6.
You can read in 6 languages?
Yeah.
English?
English, Spanish, certainly, German, Italian, Portuguese, and French. Yeah.
I am so jealous
But I'm
right
old.
now. You're not old.
That's the point. I'm old.
You're not old. And I'm sure that you've been doing those 6 languages since you were young.
No, that was...
Oh, you didn't learn one of them last week?
Cost a lot of effort, believe me, yes. For instance, I began learning German, and German is today, in my opinion, my first language is when I was 30 years old.
Well, that's not old.
Yeah. But in any case,
And now he's 35. Come on.
My God. I suffered the language, and then, well, finally, you master it.
And you've mastered it. Which was the hardest?
In my opinion, English is the most difficult language in the world. No, I have no doubt about that.
You're right.
I mean, if you just think the letter I and how many different pronunciations you have, and then German in that way is absolutely perfect. They have no exceptions. Always the same. You pronounce always in the same way. Then
that kind of explains a lot about Americans and Germans, doesn't
perhaps.
it? Germans, no exceptions, always the same.
exceptions,
Americans, there's a million ways to do that I.
Well, yeah, Dr. Johnson probably.
Yeah, I think that alone says everything that we need to know about the
Exactly.
cultures. And Spanish, there's a lot of
Well,
exception.
Spanish is very difficult for a foreigner.
And they just changed all the rules, too.
Well, I mean, relating, accents and things like that.
Right.
But Spanish, they have not so many exceptions as English.
Okay.
And it's difficult to pronounce for a
Right.
foreigner. That's something that certainly costs a lot you will always recognize a German speaking Spanish. I mean, there is no way to avoid.
I can't imagine a German speaking Spanish.
Oh yes. Oh, yes.
That's kind of funny even to think
Yes,
about.
yes.
Do you have you read in the original language?
Yeah.
Which, so you get to read what the author really wrote.
Yeah.
Which is just
This
amazing.
is important. Yeah.
It is important.
I mean,
but none of us have that. Us mere mortals don't have that benefit. We read the translator.
Well, there are very good translations too.
I mean, there are, but the original is the original.
I recall when I was young, I was really in love with one author, and that was Hermann Hesse. And then I recall that I read at least 23 or 24 different translations of just one book. And then the first book that I read in German was that book in German.
And was it anything like the translations?
Oh, that was nothing like the original.
Yeah.
In this very moment, I'm reading another German author. It's a very good one, Patrick Süskind. And he wrote a small book, The Story of Mr. Summer, that will be the translation. And I love, I mean, to be involved in the original words. And,
wow.
And that's something interesting.
That's something I'll never get to do.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, unless I really study.
Oh yes, because you don't need to. But I was working all around the world. I mean, I worked 6 years in Germany, 2 years in Switzerland. Then you need to learn the language, and I was working with that.
Right.
That's the difference. Yeah.
But how nice to be able to read in the original. So what are you reading right now? English, German, Spanish, Portuguese?
I'm reading German.
Okay.
And I mean, as a print book, and in Kindle, I'm reading English.
Okay,
Yeah.
and law books, fiction, non-fiction?
Fiction, I'm thrillers.
Oh, thrillers.
Oh, yes.
Oh.
I love that.
Well, you wrote your own thriller here,
come
which
on.
we're going to talk about.
And certainly I'm reading law also.
Because I know you love the law.
I can avoid to read something related with my subject.
Right.
Yeah. Nuremberg or that kind of stuff.
It's not nearly as good as your stuff, though.
No. We'll see.
Well, I've got 2 fat books that I need to read in the
Okay.
near future because we have some special shows coming up. First of all, on February 6th, my mother has begged, any of you who watch the show know my mother is an Outlander fanatic. So we are having an Outlander special. We still have, I think, 1 slot left for a guest, maybe 2. So if you'd like to be a guest on our Outlander show, get your kilts ready, and we are going to be pouring the whiskey. And I hear that I have to read all of this.
Good.
That's a lot of book to read.
seeing.
So February 6th. So please, if you're interested in being a guest on our Outlander special, write to me at betweenthecoverstv.com. And then on April 3rd, because winter is coming, we are having a Game of Thrones special because Game of Thrones is going to be coming in with its final season. So we're going to talk about the books. I saw the shows, but I never read the books. So I'm going to have to read the books before April 3rd. So again, you can sign up at Between the Covers TV and TV.com and sign up to be a guest on one of those special shows. But we do have our quote for the day.
Okay.
And nobody got it last week. So I'm getting a little worried. So let's see if our viewers know this quote. I was very cold this week when I wrote the quote. I didn't write the quote, I picked the quote. So I picked one having to do with winter. And it says here, "Nothing burns like the cold, but only for a while. Then it gets inside you and starts to fill you up. And after a while, you don't have the strength to fight it." Is that quote from Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien, A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin, Harry Potter by J.K. Rowling, or Storm of the Century by Stephen King? You have a 25% chance of getting it right, folks. So give a call at 516-945-9099. We're going to take a short commercial break, but you could also use that number to call if you have any questions for our guest here. But we'll be back in just a minute.
Me llaman Dan Pablo y hace más de 20 años me enamoré de una colombiana. Viajé a su país y conocí un estilo de café muy distinto, muy especial. Ahora tostamos cafés excelentes, con alturas y microclimas diferentes, resultado en una taza muy compleja y muy rica, un sabor nuevo en el mundo. Fue un éxito. And I even got to keep the girl.
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print books. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality.
May I?
Welcome back to Between the Covers. So thrilled to have you. And so thrilled to have our special guest, Alberto Zuppi. Now, I gave you just a smidgen of what he does, and he'll be so embarrassed if I go through the whole litany. But among his claims to fame, if we'll put it that way, that knock my socks off, are extraditing Nazi war criminals from, the back jungles of Argentina. That's like a movie. And also, besides that, was also the Secretary of Justice for Argentina. So I get fame right here on the couch with me. Did I swell your head enough?
I mean, I'm old.
You keep saying that. You need to stop.
Well, this is the only explanation.
You need to stop with the old. But first we're going to talk a little bit about AMIA, which is a very important book. And I felt terrible because when you first approached me about publishing this book, I knew nothing. And I just feel like that terrible American who has no idea what goes on in the world. Back in 1994, the worst terrorist act to ever occur in Argentina was the bombing of this building, which was the largest Jewish philanthropic association. And hundreds and hundreds of people injured, 85 people killed, horrible, horrible crime. And you were the prosecutor for the victims' families. And thankfully wrote this book about it, which taught me and will teach all of you. It's available on Amazon because it's horrible what happened. So tell us a little bit about this and what's gone on since, because we even had to come out with an extended edition. It keeps going.
Yeah. Well, AMIA was a story. I mean, as you mentioned, was a terrorist attack, a terrible one, and. Well, a group of families and relatives of the victim contact me, and I act as private prosecutor. This is an institution that we have in the Argentine judicial system that allows you to go exactly as a prosecutor with the same rights and duties, but as a private one. And then we discovered that was a cover-up. I mean, that something happened every time that we were trying to get some information, or we inquire something, then we stopped with a judge who didn't want to investigate nothing at all. Right. Then after, well, a long story, I mean, we were fighting with this judge, trying to show him what was absolutely clear and evident. Right. And then we decided to go internationally, and we initiated a claim against Argentina in the Inter-American Court of Human Rights. And I recall very well when we finished this, we were working together with another group of human rights lawyers in Argentina, and I recall one of them saying, listen, we have a very workable claim, but don't think that we were going to win. Right. And as a matter of fact, we were not looking about winning, we were just trying to obtain an international scandal in order to move, something in Argentina. But things changed. I mean, as a matter of fact, when we received the answer of the Argentine government, we realized that we were going to win. Wow. And that was a terrific, feeling. We answered that, and the government change in that moment was the government of Menem in that time, and then arrived another government, another president. And then they realized what Menem had done, and then they don't want to be associated with that, and immediately they try to get some sort of conciliation. Then we remain without in a pause until the oral trial, and then somebody will be the president of the Inter-American Commission of Human Rights, was going to be there and to hear the oral trial.
Right.
And after that, he will make a report.
Okay.
And then not only the oral trial, but also the report of the president of the Inter-American Commission give us absolutely right. I mean, recognize that our claim was absolutely fair. And in 2005, the Argentine government make a declaration recognizing that we were right and that the Argentine government was concealing the investigation. And this is the second part. I mean,
yes,
you were mentioning why we have an extended edition
right.
of the book, and the extended edition is trying to explain why Argentina concealed the investigation.
Okay. So you actually won. You went against a country.
Yeah.
In the Court of Human Rights, and you
my
won.
own country.
Your own country. And you actually won against your own country.
Yeah.
How devastating for those people to find out that their own country had concealed. I know you had mentioned to me one of the things that was so obvious, but you had to fight for this, that the night before the bombing, the AMIA bombing was a car bombing, and it took down an entire whole building. You could see right here on the cover, the whole building just gone. And one of the things you mentioned to me that came to light with your investigation was that the night before the bombing, there was
dawn. I mean, even just hours before the bombing,
the helicopter
was
flying, hovering,
20 minutes,
showing a spotlight, looking
for something. And then hours later, boom! The explosion.
And they knew this.
Then that means that somebody knew that the target was the AMIA.
Right.
And then
and they didn't tell people, don't go to work, don't go into the building, nothing.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Exactly.
They knew it was coming.
Well, after our claim, and after the first, what we call the first AMIA case, arrived a second AMIA case, where the judge was indicted, and the prosecutors were indicted, and the Argentine president was indicted, the secretary of intelligence was indicted, and several other people, policemen and things like that. And we are waiting now the decision of that second AMIA case.
So that case hasn't even come to a decision yet?
No. I mean, we finished with the first case.
Right.
The first case we obtained what we wanted to show. I mean, that everything was nil, that nobody had investigated nothing. And then we arrived to the second one. It is the case about the concealment.
Right.
The point is that we are wondering what's going to be this second decision, and then probably that will be the second edition.
We'll have another edition coming out of the book. You better buy this one quick, because then there's going to be another one.
Well, that will take a couple. I mean, a couple of months.
When is that decision expected?
Probably the decision will be expected February or March, but probably will be appeal, and then you should wait what happened with the Chamber of Appeal and then the Supreme Court.
Right,
then 1 year or 2 years.
Okay, so this will be around for 1 or 2 years.
Oh, yes.
Okay, they can get to Amazon and buy it now.
No,
or redpenguinbooks.com. We can go there and buy it. I'm just horrified.
It's a terrible story.
Bad things happen. And that's something that we have to live with, is that bad things happen. It's so much harder to live with the fact that bad things happen because people cause bad things to happen. Yeah. But you're talking about bad things happen because there are bad people causing bad things to happen, and your own government is covering it up.
Yeah.
That's just...
Well, that was a question of international politics. I mean, the bombing occurred in a very specific moment of some peace talks between Israel and Syria. And then Israel had already in 1993 obtained a peace agreement with the Palestinian organization. Then in 1994 in June with Jordania. Then the only neighbor that remained in question was Syria, and Syria was also militarily and politically dominating Lebanon. That means that Syria was the only one that was remaining. And in the AMIA bomb, in one way, was an attack to the peace talks. Then the concealment has to do with that. And it is terrible to see AMIA as a collateral damage.
Yes, collateral damage. You have a whole chapter called that, and that
that's
it
the
just
truth.
broke my heart.
Yeah,
that people, regular people going to work, are considered collateral damage.
Yeah. Yeah. But in any case, I mean, this is the story of a fight during several years alone, and after 2000 with a colleague who passed away a couple of years ago. But in any case, we had a fantastic fight for this, and every time, presenting requests to the judges and asking for measures and trying to investigate things, then it was a story. Yeah, and this is the story of the book.
Yes, yes, it is a story. It's a story that, like I mentioned before, we don't know, and that we need to know.
Yeah.
They say those who do not know history are doomed to repeat it.
Oh yeah.
And it is so important for us to know. Most of our viewers are worldwide, but I know as an American, we don't know what goes on in the world. And to know about the cover-up and the collateral damage and all of the evidence pointing to this, it's eye-opening.
And then probably you have heard, because I've read that in American newspaper, about the prosecutor that was killed, Niesman.
Niesman, yes.
He was prosecutor in the AMIA case, and he decided to make an indictment against the Argentine president at that time, and that was on Friday. Then on Monday, he appeared killed in his own apartment.
Somebody had asked me when they knew that I was publishing the book, and I said that you were the prosecutor, and they said, wasn't the prosecutor killed?
Yeah.
And I said, well, thankfully, my
prosecutor
was not killed. And I thank God for that every day, that you're here.
He was the official prosecutor,
yes,
and I was acting as a private prosecutor.
And you were a private prosecutor. Yeah. Well, I'm just thankful that you're here, because people have asked me that question, and I said, no, I have the other prosecutor.
Yeah.
We're going to take a short break, but certainly, if you are in my boat and you had no idea what goes on, please read AMIA, An Ongoing Crime, available at redpenguinbooks.com or at Amazon. Thanks so much, and we'll take a break and be right back.
The sun is getting warmer, but when we soar away among the clouds, the sky is just a border, but when we're floating up like helium,
Do you have a book, either in your head or on your desk, just waiting to get out to anxious readers? Hi, I'm Stephanie Larkin, author, book developer, and head penguin at Red Penguin Books. We're a publishing company specializing in books of all genres and publishing in all formats, including digital, audible, and print books. From business books to romance, memoirs to mysteries, our authors have complete control over their books from start to print. We'll help get your book to booksellers all around. Major booksellers such as Amazon, Apple, Kobo, Walmart, even libraries and bookstores around the world. We believe in our authors. So call or email today to get your free publisher's packet to get started. Just visit us at redpenguinbooks.com and get your book out there and into the hands of your readers. At Red Penguin Books, you call all the shots. So call us today and turn your dreams into a reality. Welcome back to Between the Covers TV. I'm sitting here with Alberto Zuppi, the author of AMIA and Ongoing Crime, the prosecutor for the victims' families in the worst terrorist attack ever on Argentina. He's also an internationally renowned lawyer and worked diligently in extraditing Nazi war criminals from Argentina. Which brings us to our next book, because he just seems to write and write and write. He's just putting the finishing touches on a 3-volume set on the Nuremberg Trials, which are those infamous trials that happened after World War II of all of the Nazi horrible people. What do we call those Nazi horrible people?
I mean, that was the 12 trials that the Argentine International Military Tribunals decided to prepare and go on after the major case against Goering and the big people from the Nazi parties. Those 12 trials are, in my opinion, and well, it is not only mine, I mean, I would say in legal opinions, are much important than the Nuremberg trial, the first one, because not only because several things were discussed, but also those trials give the chance to offer you a whole spectrum of what was the Nazi apparatus. You know?
Horrible.
And then those trials are one concerning the doctor's trial,
oh, yes,
another
yes.
one the judges and lawyers. Then we have 3 cases relating industrialists, then 3 cases related to the SS, and then 3 cases related to the army. But they are very strong. They are cases engaged with the Second World War, but also with, I mean, some cases are beyond your imagination. I mean, they are the best example of what was the Shoah, the Holocaust, in a way that I never imagined before.
I don't know how you wrote these books. I don't know if we had a slide up with the covers of the books. It's 3 volumes. Each one is, 800 pages long. And looking at these books and the amount of research that went into them, and I know you listened to audio tapes and did transcriptions of the trials, and I don't know how you wrote those 3 books without becoming so incredibly depressed.
Yeah.
Because every page, on the one hand, these are such critically important books to have written and for us to read, because, again, those who do not know what went on, and so many of us are so ignorant about what went on, but the horror in reading, when you're reading about the Nuremberg trials, as you wrote them, you are recounting the Holocaust in detail by detail.
Yeah.
And
let's make perhaps an explanation. The books are written in Spanish.
yes,
And
you had told me this is the first time they
this
were
is
written.
the first time that will be something like this in Spanish.
What a gift for you to give to people. I mean, Spanish is a huge language.
Yeah.
This is
If you want to read something about these 12 trials, then the best books are in English. And even in English, there is not a book like this one, because
Right.
I tried to translate not only the major interrogatories and the verdicts
Right.
and the allegation of defense and prosecution, but also try to comment and translate some documents.
Yes, you
the
did.
Wannsee
Yes.
conference documents, the Einsatzgruppen, I mean, those groups that they kill more than 1 million people.
oh God.
And they're an incredible material. And as you said, to write this was a kind of travel to hell.
I can't imagine.
And be sure that several nights, writing, I was not only depressed, I wanted to stop, and I don't wanted to continue with the work. But, something strange happened in the book. From time to time you hear that in a ghetto in Warsaw they killed 256,000 people. But then from time to time appeared just one name of one victim, because they make an explanation about a specific case, or in the judge cases they mention one person that was convicted very unjustly, but in any case one person. And those people, I mean, those small names that perhaps they are different from the millions, because if you can imagine something like 1 million people.
You're right. It doesn't even sound real.
It is impossible to think in something like that. And then when you have one name, it seems that everything looks real and everything happened. It was a terrible experience, but a necessary one.
It was.
And I think that this is the most important work that I have done.
I think you're right. I think you are so right that this is the most important work that you've done.
And I'm very happy to bring this to the Spanish-speaking people, a compilation of all these 12 trials. And there is a lot of expectancies in the Spanish legal world about this.
I'm thrilled that you brought it in Spanish, because just like you mentioned earlier about reading texts in the original language. And, to think that every Spanish-speaking historian and lawyer had to read about something in a language which was not their comfort language, or they had to read a translation. And they're losing so much. And what a gift. This must have taken years. These are, how many words are in these books? I mean, hundreds of thousands of words, just crazy number. But what a gift, because Spanish is it the second or the third most spoken language in the world? We're talking about millions of people who have not had access to this major event in our history of the world. And now they will be able to read firsthand what actually happened.
I hope so, really.
It's huge.
I hope so. It is a major work. Took several years to complete.
Sure.
And as I mentioned, I mean, sometimes I never thought I was going to finish, but it was done. And the result is, I'm very, very satisfied with the result. And I know that they have a lot of expectations, because for time to time I'm asked to talk about one of the trials. And I have already published in separate
journals and such.
In journals comments about the one or the other trial. And then my whole life was in one way engaged with these trials. I have been Robert and Pamela Martin Professor of Law in Louisiana State University, and my university was the Paul M. Abert Law Center. And Paul M. Abert was one of the judges of these tribunals, and he judged the case number 6. And during my time as professor in Louisiana, I have already written an article about this and working with his own papers, and was already a very nice and important story. And then I was engaged already with that.
Right. Wow. Such work. We'll be right back after just a word from our sponsor.
Me llaman Dan Pablo y hace más de 20 años me enamoré de una colombiana. Viajé a su país y conocí un estilo de café muy distinto, muy especial. Ahora tostamos cafés excelentes, con alturas y microclimas diferentes, resultado en una taza muy compleja y muy rica, un sabor nuevo en el mundo. Fue un éxito. And I even got to keep the girl.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. You see, You show a commercial, and the two of us were plotting what translations we were going to do Nuremberg in the near future. I'm trying to strong arm into an English translation. There's no English book like this, is there?
There is a very good book of one professor that considers the whole 12 trials from the legal point of view, but I don't think there is something like this.
You go through every single person who, I know, I looked at these books, every single person who is on trial and what they did and all of the evidence against them and all of the verdicts and all of the charts and the maps and the pictures and everything that went on in that time period. Yeah. Everything. Mm. I know that you sat there and you have transcriptions of he said, all of in the trial of who was speaking and what they were saying. Yeah. There's nothing like that.
And the documents. I mean, and the good thing is that because my German, then I could hear the original speeches and then translated in Spanish, because the English translation, they are not so good.
No. Yeah. And these trials were the most, so important as far as international trials. I can't think of another.
Well, as a matter of fact, today we have an international criminal tribunal in The Hague, and if you are reading international jurisprudence concerning criminal law, they are quoting those trials.
Yes.
These 12 trials that we are talking in this box.
Right.
I mean, they are very actual. They offer, I would say, the origin of international criminal law as we know that today.
Right. So whether you are a law student or someone interested in history, or any of us, because quite frankly, we all should know. I feel so much more informed having read these books. No, I'm not a lawyer. But as a human being, I should know what went on. Because it's important. Just like AMIA, it's important that we as members of the human community know what's going on in the world, what has gone on, because if we don't know what has gone on, it's going to go on again.
No, it's painful, but
it is
right.
painful.
No.
It was horrible to read. I think the worst for me to read, the part about the medical testing.
Well, I mean,
I was shocked.
The medical testing was something, but I think that the assaults group, I mean, Einsatzgruppen, that was because they have at least 20 or 25 reports that they sent to Berlin, and you know that during the trial, one of the prosecutors discovered those reports in Berlin in one office, and they brought them to Nuremberg. And then in those reports, they are telling what each group had done and how many people killed in one day or in 1 week. And the result is incredible. They killed more than 1 million people. That was something. I mean, that was a terrible case. I mean, something that really... And perhaps the most... incredible thing is that how the laxitude of the American government concerning the verdicts, because in 1956 everybody was free.
You're right. When I was reading the book, and everything is so horrible, and then the verdict, and then they were released in 5 years.
That's incredible. I mean, especially, for instance, I have been engaged, as you mentioned, with the extradition of two Nazis from Argentina. One of them was a very dangerous guy who was the director of 3 concentration camps. I mean, something that really deserved the worst punishment. But the other one was very well known. I mean, Erich Priebke, who was engaged in the massacre, what we call the Atenas forces massacre in Rome. There is even a film with Richard Burton and Marcello Mastroianni.
We know it must be important if Richard Burton's in the movie, yeah.
And, well, Priebke, if you compare, for instance, Priebke with these people, Priebke, certainly he committed crime, but not in the measure of the Einsatzgruppen.
Right, right.
And you can see that people that belong to the Einsatzgruppen, they were not even prosecuted. We are talking about 1,000 persons, 1,000 people,
Right.
and there were just only 23 prosecuted. 6 of them, they were condemned to death. But the rest, life in
released.
prison, but in 1956 they were already free.
Oh,
That was a problem of the Cold War. America wished to have, Germany in another situation and to be prepared in order to have a conflict with the URSS.
and that's why the sentences were so short?
Yes, certainly. That was the explanation. In 1948, they was very near to the Third World War. I mean, the Russian tanks were in Berlin and, problems began. That was also the reason about finishing the trials. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Absolutely eye-opening. Alberto Zuppi, available on Amazon, available at Red Penguin Books. Read and learn something. We all need to learn something. We're talking so much, you and I, about the books, but about our countries in general, and very different views about things. So I had grabbed some things about reading around the world and found out that your country reads more than my country does.
Could be. And probably my daughter is included there.
I hope she's a reader. But Bobby, if we have that slide, which countries read the most? There we go. This was ranked by how many hours, and Argentina was 5.9. And the United States was way, way down the list, further down at 5.7. That's how many hours per week. So your country are much better readers than we are. But neither of us are even coming close to India, where they're reading 10.7 hours a week.
Fantastic.
Okay, so your next book has to be written in Indian, because or Thailand, they're reading 9.4. The Asian countries are beating us by a mile. So you and I are going to have to talk about publishing in other languages.
Fantastic.
Way down there also was, unfortunately, that they're playing video games for twice as much time as they're reading.
Probably. Probably that explanation.
Exactly. Here's one chart that I had pulled up for all of the reading around the world. And India is winning by a mile. India, Thailand, China, and the Philippines. So now I know if I visit those countries, they won't even talk to me because they're busy with a book. But, as people who are trying to get books out there, that needs to be something that we need to think about. That's the next group of people who are reading the most.
No.
This next slide we have has to do with print books versus audio books. 67% of Americans have read a print book, 18% have listened to an audio book. I might have to talk you into doing an audio book. Would you consider that?
Oh yes, audiobooks are fantastic.
And in some countries, like in Scandinavia, audiobooks are actually more popular than print books.
I didn't know that.
They are
but
taking over.
audiobooks are good, not only when you are just driving, for instance,
Right.
but also they are good for improving your pronunciation.
Oh, well, I think that's a great idea. If you would do an audio book of any of your books, then I can listen to you in the car.
I don't think that this is something to listen in the car so easily.
Well, no, it is pretty disturbing what you're
Yeah.
writing about, but think of how well my Spanish would get if I got to listen to you in the car.
Well, perhaps.
And listening to that sweet voice, because many of the authors are doing their own audiobooks now.
Yes. And I think that, for instance, Stephen King, the best audiobook that I heard was done by him.
Oh, really? Oh, you listened to an audiobook?
Yeah.
Now, did you listen to it because you wanted to hear Stephen King or because you were driving and you wanted to be able to listen?
Both, I would say, for both things. I mean, and during the time that I was teaching in America, I was very worried about my pronunciation because, you can...
See, now I love your pronunciation.
Come on. In any case, when you are teaching, you wish to mesmerize your audience, and then you say something wrong, and then a student is just catching that wrong sentence and
Right.
didn't
No, I
hear
get
the
that.
rest.
I get that, but I got to tell you, I think your accent is mesmerizing.
Oh, thank you.
It sounds much nicer than mine.
Oh, no, I don't believe that.
I think that absolutely. Our next slide here has to do with Europe. and how many books they are reading in Europe, and how much Europeans are spending on books. Now, you speak every single language in the European continent, so we could certainly publish your books in Europe with no problem. I was a little dismayed that I was able to find a slide on America and one on Europe, but none on South America. Are you not publishing books down in South America?
Oh, yes. The problem is that in South America sometimes to publish a book is very expensive.
Ah.
I have 10 books published, and one in Germany, one in Portuguese in Brazil, and these two in
America, right?
And the rest in Argentina.
Right. Well, this will be 4 because Nuremberg is 3.
Oh, okay. I'm just counting.
You counted as 1, but it's 3
No,
because
come on. It is 3 because you are not going to publish this in 1 volume.
Well, it's 3 because you sent it to, and I was so fat that we couldn't make a book out of it. It was this big. We can't print something that big.
It is just for your night lecture, you know.
How can I carry that around in my bag? That's why it's
difficult,
3.
yeah.
No, you're right. Nuremberg is 1 book in 3 volumes.
Yes.
But still counts. It still absolutely counts. This next slide is, people will say, do people still read books? Well, everybody I know would much rather a print book.
Well, I prefer print.
I prefer print books, but e-books or digital books are gaining on us. If you look at this slide here, the types of books being purchased, well, certainly paperbacks are beating hardcover. Hardcover are beautiful to look at, but they make my arm tired.
No.
They absolutely do.
And look what's going on in the subway. I mean, the other day I make a little inquiry, just looking people in the subway, and I saw just 1 person reading a book. All the rest were
with like a Kindle or something. Well, I have to admit, as much as I like to hold a book, I like to look at a book and stick my bookmark. I like that. But I read so many books for business reasons, and also because I love to read, that I have them on my iPad. And I have my iPad, and I have, 50 books on there.
The same happened with me. Yeah.
And it's convenient. My husband was buying books, loved books, and it actually happened. He didn't want the Kindle. He didn't. He liked a book. Until one night, he had finished his book. He reads a lot. Thrillers, like you.
Okay.
And he got to the end, and he wanted the next book, like that. When will the next book come? And I went to Amazon, and I said, it won't come for 3 days. And he said, 3 days. And I said, you know what? I can give it to you right now. And I pressed the button, and I handed him my iPad, and he was so happy. He was so happy. And now he gets to the end of the book, and at the end of the book what there is? There's a button, and you press the button, and you get another one.
Exactly.
And I get that. And to be honest, for our authors like yourself, the price for you, for your publisher, to produce digital books is much less than print.
No.
So your profit margins are better.
Well, in any case, I mean, it is fantastic to have a small price for an ebook.
Yeah, but it's nice to have these nice ones. Isn't this nice? It looks nice. An ebook never looks quite like this. It's just not quite the same. And our last slide, having to do with books, is just for me to mention to my sons, because it tells us how the book industry is the largest media and entertainment industry, with an estimated value of United States dollars $151 billion per year.
That's something.
That's higher than music at $50 billion, video games at $63 billion. My sons think video games are more important. Magazines, I'm surprised this is still $107 billion. And films and entertainment is only $133 billion. I thought that would be higher. Mm-hmm. But books are still higher than all of them. So
that's great.
Read a book, but don't read for too long. We're going to take a really quick commercial break, and we will be right back.
This sun is getting warmer, but when we soar away among the clouds, the sky is just a border, but when we're floating up like helium.
Me llaman Don Pablo y hace más de 20 años me enamoré de una colombiana. Viajé a su país y conocí un estilo de café muy distinto, muy especial. Ahora tostamos cafés excelentes, con alturas y microclimas diferentes, resultado en una taza muy compleja y muy rica, un sabor nuevo en el mundo. Fue un éxito. And I even got to keep the girl.
Yeah.
Welcome back to Between the Covers. We've been having a fabulous time with our guest, Alberto Zuppi, but we are going to give our viewers one more chance to get our quote for the day. So our quote for the day is, "Nothing burns like the cold, but only for a while. Then it gets inside you and starts to fill you up, and after a while, you don't have the strength to fight it." You have a 25% chance of getting this right. Is it Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones, Harry Potter, or Storm of the Century? Call in now for a free book. 516-945-9099. If you don't call in, I'm going to tell you what it was, because we need to find out what these quotes are. But I am so excited that you've been here and sharing this amazing life that you have led. Terrifying, but I feel like I'm sitting right next to history, because you actually...
I told you I was old.
You're not that old. I just mean that you did important things. I don't know. I live here on Long Island, and have a house and kids. You're doing things.
Well, I have already 2 kids.
You have 2 kids. I know. I've met one of them, and she's fabulous.
Yes.
I haven't met the other one, but I guess I'll have to go to Argentina, like you keep telling me, so I can.
Yeah.
And I hear the food is good, and the Malbec wine is even better.
Yeah.
I'm going. I have actually, did I show you that I've been drinking on the air today Sauvignon Blanc from Argentina in your honor?
Thank you.
Yeah, and I promise I will come at some point. But we have a couple of seconds. Any final words to leave us with? I know I've had a million people wanting me to have you comment on how Argentinians view Americans and all of our political troubles here.
Well, I mean, we are a little bit surprised, I must recognize. But I'm not first speaking about America, because I'm a resident here.
You are a resident here, so you can't throw us under the bus.
No, I mean, I feel in one way American. I'm the only one, I think, from my friends that renew the green card. I mean...
Well, I'm delighted that you do.
But usually you take, the pass.
Right.
And I didn't have the chance to do that. But in any case, I mean, I feel very fine here.
Okay, so you're not going to throw us under the bus and talk about the ugly American.
No. Surprise about politics, but something that happened also in Argentina.
Yeah, well, you've had your share of interesting governments down in Argentina.
Oh yes.
Absolutely, you have.
Absolutely.
But you know what? Knowing the political situation in Argentina and how you've had some woo and then better, that certainly gives us all hope here in America that,
absolutely.
And even talking about Nuremberg, things get bad and then things get better.
Certainly.
We're going to go with that optimism. Since nobody called in, I will tell you that quote was from Game of Thrones. I could have put "Winter is Coming," which would be so blatantly obvious. I tried for the harder one, but you didn't get it. But Game of Thrones, and our Game of Thrones episode is going to be coming up on April 6th. And I can't thank you enough for joining us today.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. You can get more of Alberto Zuppi at redpenguinbooks.com or amazon.com. Zuppi, Z-U-P-P-I. That's easy to find, easy to spell. And let's all make it an effort this new year to read and to become more informed in the world around us. It is so vitally important. And thank you for joining us on Between the Covers.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you.